Thank you so much again for taking the time to do this interview. I think the last time we talked was like when your previous record came out. So how have you been since?
I've been doing well, thank you. I've been keeping busy, and I'm really excited about the results of that coming out very soon.
This is the third time we're talking, but when we had our first interview 3 years ago, I think
Yeah,
I asked you what the possibilities were of you going on tour, and you said that you weren't sure what band you could join that would be both cool enough that you would dedicate your time to, and that you will feel comfortable with. And I guess the
did I
question
say
was,
that?
yeah, which I thought was funny because I guess the question wasn't really what band you could join, but what band could join you. And I guess you found some people now. So why did
Yeah.
you decide to start, a band again in that sense, even though it's still a solo project, but
So I got this band together when I was planning to perform Tales from 6 Feet Under Volume 1 and 2 live for the first time. Like I was hesitant to ask my like ex Delane bandmates at first because I always thought that if we'd work together again, it would be in a more traditional band sense of the word. Um, but I was very happy that they were excited to be on the stage with me for this material. And once we did that, like I really felt like whatever I was going to do next, I really wanted to include them in that as well. So when I started writing like the new songs for the new records, I felt like it already like it influenced everything from the sort of songs that I wanted to write, to of course eventually how the song sounded when also they put their mark on it. Um, so yeah, that was just, you know, us getting to share our musical synergy again, which was absolutely amazing. And I'm so happy to have them be a part of this. It's truly exciting. And I'm also excited that we're going on the road again. And I'm excited that we get to do that with VOLA because I'm a big fan of VOLA. And I reached out to them when I saw like the tour poster go up. And, I had been obsessed with them ever since I first heard Head Mounted Sideways. And um, I saw the poster go up and I saw also like the timing and I was like, that one will just be out. So I sent them a message and I sent them like a private link to the record because I was like, if they go on Spotify, they will hear the Tails record, which are completely different. So I was like,
yeah.
this is what I'm going to do. And I really like you guys. So pick me. And it did. Yeah.
Yeah, that brings me to, I thought this record, I wouldn't say it's prog, but I really enjoy progressive metal, and there is some progginess to many of the songs actually, which indeed wasn't there with the previous two solo albums. So where does that come from? Is that like the band, its input?
I think that the band made it bigger. But I think that it was already there on like the first incarnations of the songs because for this record what I did like the beginning phase was kind of similar to Tales where I wrote the song here with digital instruments. I put it on Patreon, but then I took it into this next phase into the process in which they were very involved. Um, and I think that those elements were already in those first incarnations, but that the band really helped those parts kind of reach their full potential. Like any kind of weird things I did, like, they made bigger. If I put like dissonance in somewhere, they made them even bigger. So I
Mm.
think that there was, again, like there was a really nice synergy there where um yeah, where the songs really got lifted through that. um I think there were some progressive moments. I think maybe Human to Ruin had some progressive moments in that, but
See that?
um Yeah, but I've been enjoying like progressive music a lot too, so maybe I've also been influenced by that.
Mm.
But I really enjoyed those albums on the moment, and I also feel that in writing now, like maybe it starts to feel very comfortable. I really like it. I'm now working on a song in 5/8 time signature, so yeah, I'm hooked. I'm gone now. Yeah,
Welcome to the prog community. We've been
there we
waiting.
go.
No, but yeah, that must be pretty exciting that you're joining on tour with a band that whose music you really like. So, and I also
Yeah,
personally like
definitely.
the VOLA a lot. So, that's
Yeah,
great.
yeah. I've had the pleasure of I've had the pleasure of touring with bands that I am so excited about. Often, like I feel very spoiled, but it still gets me very excited and fangirly every time that
Yeah.
happens.
How does that usually, did you slide into their DMs or did you actually send an email?
No, I slid into their
Yeah.
DMs.
Yeah, that's
And this is
funny.
not, I mean, I have a great booking agency. I'm with Doomstar, but I felt, especially because I was like, if I put in like a formal request, like they're going to go check my official channels and they will not be knowing what I'm working on and how it will be different from that. So I thought it really makes sense here to reach out personally, so I
Yeah.
can actually give them to give them that context myself, and also to tell them that I'd actually brought their song to a podcast like 2 years before this or something, and they thanked me for it
Yeah.
through a DM. So we already had contact like very briefly, like a few years
Yeah.
ago. So I was like, also when I'm saying that I'm a fan, I'm not bullshitting you because look at our last communication, you know? So yeah.
Your previous album, you also mentioned that you wrote the songs without any input for people to play the instruments, and that was sort of difficult when you wanted to translate it to the live show. And I've
Yes.
seen you state in a couple of interviews that when you started this album, you had to, change that up a little bit, and that the songs for Patreon sound a lot different now as well. So what was that process there to make it so that you can actually play the songs live?
I think it was more that I was making different choices. Like on Patreon, sometimes I will still feel like uh, if I have like a folk song that needs to get out, I will still get the folk song out, you know? But in general, once I started thinking about this album, I started to make the choices more geared towards recording with the band. I started to make choices more geared towards going to perform these songs live. And if you'd ask like what, like how does that then present itself, it's like a lot of it is also like in terms of like where you put the weight of the arrangement, at least in my first version. um like when you can choose, like, are you going to use like a harp for this or a guitar for this, you know? uh and I know that I have Timo Somers who's going to play on the album, then those kind of choices are easily made, and that gives also some guidance to what to do. Um, so I think it changed in that respect, and for me, like I don't know if patrons noticed a difference in this, but for me it also changed in how I approach the songs, because in those first years when I put the songs on Patreon, I kind of put the pressure of myself of once I put them on Patreon, they're done.
Mm.
I cannot change them anymore. And I knew that I was not going to do like a new song every month and at the same time work on the album. So I kind of had to change that in my mind to make that song of the month a part of basically the process for this album, where I was like, I will write the songs, I will put them on Patreon, but from there they might still change and they might still evolve. And that allowed me also to go back to certain songs that I had put on Patreon and to feel like, okay, so I really like this song, but I feel like it's still missing a middle part. It's still missing like an instrumental section here. It's still missing something in the vocal arrangements, or I don't like these lyrics, and then change them.
Mm.
So, but you know, I still finish the songs. I still have them mixed and mastered. So I don't know if my approach to that is something that patrons really noticed, if it was like, or if that's just something in my head that
Mm.
changed.
Well, yeah, one of the songs that you released on Patreon a while ago, at least, because you mentioned this song in our previous interview, is Bigger and Valor. And
Yeah.
you also mentioned that back then that it was inspired by this bell sound you heard in Stranger Things season 4.
Yes, yes, it was called Vecna's Clock before. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that song, right? Okay, great. But how different is that version from the one you originally released on Patreon?
Good question. Um, like this is not one where, for example, Dopamine on Patreon, that was just harp and vocals, and then we made it a band track for the album. So
Yeah.
it's big difference, you know. This one wasn't that extreme. But you know, if you're going to listen to the riff in the Patreon version and then to the riffage after, you know, Timo and Otto and Joey did their work on it, like obviously there's a big contrast there. And I feel like it took a massive step up. Also in this song, there's a really big orchestrations. For the orchestrations, I've worked with Vikram Shankar. He did amazing work on it. So I think this one is a little bit more like it feels more grand and epic, and I really like all the details that Joey put in the playing as well, because the like especially like the rhythms in the verses are very very typical, and that really fell into place. It was really cool. um so yeah, I think this one mainly became like bigger and more epic. Oh, and actually the outro, the original outro became its own song
Yeah.
because yeah, and this also changed quite a bit in the arrangement because Vikram, he did some really cool things in the arrangement, and then Eliana worked her cellos into that, and then Timo did some really cool atmospherical things on it as well. There's actually an extended version of that on the vinyl, and yeah, it became its own song. Also for practical reasons, because I like it when you can go straight to it, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but also because I kind of liked it as an interlude, because you know the whole album is about kind of fear, and then Vigor and Valor is about asking for courage, and the very last song after that, like Soft Revolution, is about being afraid and doing the thing anyway. And then in the crying room, then there's this part of like all we need is a minute to breathe. So I thought if these songs are representing like doing the thing even though you're scared, then that is like that instrumental part is for me.
That is that minute.
Yeah, that is the minute to breathe. Yeah.
Yeah, smart. Yeah, well, now that you talk about the themes and such, in the press release, I mean, it sounded basically what you said, that you wanted to hear more stories about people who are absolutely terrified and do the thing anyway, which I guess is a big thing, especially since you were, from what I've heard recently or in the recent years, diagnosed with OCD. But I think especially when it comes to the crying room, there's a lot of people, myself included, who also need a space, sometimes to cry in in public. People, how many people go to the bathroom to just cry and pour it out? I think, it's very relatable. But I think despite not writing these songs because it's really important to have them, but more as like a thing for you to process your diagnosis of OCD, do you feel like it's important in a way to share that kind of themes and stories, so people, you know, just know that there's something out there as well. And I'm also talking about, for instance, dopamine.
Yeah, definitely. Like in the songwriting phase itself, I truly go introspective and I really write for, sounds very selfish, for myself and the song itself. But then, of course, in the choices you make after that, like, am I going to share this song with the world? Am I going to then also say what it's about? You know, am I going to make that explicit? There's a lot of choices. And for me, like, a big factor in that choice is also, like, I've had parts in that journey where I felt a little alone and where I felt like kind of unsure whether I could talk about it or whether it was sort of taboo. And I strongly disliked that. So it was like, if I so strongly dislike that, then I have to, and I have a choice to either talk about it or not talk about it. Then the obvious choice is to talk about it. So yeah, while I don't think that you need to have OCD or be like a complete nervous wreck to enjoy this record, um, like the thought that maybe someone is going to something similar in whatever way could yeah, could relate to it,
Mm.
that would make me feel, that would make me feel good about it being
Yeah.
out there. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that people should generally do that more and not just leave it up to artists to, you know, talk about these themes?
See, I always think it's not a responsibility that you have if you are going through something to talk about it. I think this should really be up to, like, your thoughts are yours, your processes are yours, and you don't have to talk about it um, if you don't want to. What I would like, though, is for those who want to talk about it to have the space to do so.
Mm. Yeah.
So, and whether those people have a platform or whether they just talk about, I think actually probably the conversations that you would have with your neighbor or your brother or your sister or your parents, that they are more direct and impactful um, than someone that you don't know who sings a song about it. But that is also a platform that you can use. So I don't think that it's, what I want to say is I think that people can be very influential by talking about that, regardless of whether they have a big platform or not, because, you know, a personal connection is a personal connection.
The last time we talked, we also talked about how you were, you know, inspired by like horror movies, and then the Stranger Thing came up as well. And you
Mhm.
mentioned that you're inspired by pop media, but are there any songs like that except for the one we talked about on this record, or is it mostly the very introspective?
There is like cultural references, like obviously like the bell, the crying room in its form is sort of inspired by Homer's Odyssey, because that starts with Muse sing through me, the story of a man who is so good and competent at everything, I think is his wording sort of, uh, which I then turned around to someone who is absolutely terrified. Let's see. Um, there's of course Ode to the West Wind, which is based on a poem. Do we have any movie references on it? Like definitely in like the visual side of the exorcism, I uh I had I had a mood board with some I think Pearl was on there. Have you seen the movie Pearl?
I don't think so, no.
It's amazing.
Should I?
Um, yeah, it's, well, I really like it. Like if it's not your thing, it's
Yeah.
not your thing. But I really loved Pearl. It was a great movie. But I had like a mood board with a lot of like female rage moments from different movies that I enjoyed. I think. Um, oh, and there's a lot of art references in the video that I'm finalizing as we speak,
Yeah.
which is going online the day after tomorrow, like that one has some paintings as like a reference. But because the song Ode to the West Wind, in the original context, like the poem is the writer, Percy Shelley, like expressing his admiration for, you know, the force of nature, like the power and wanting to be as uncontrollable as nature. Uh, but alas, he's not. And then he starts talking also about his legacy and how he hopes that his legacy is kind of spread over the world. And I took it kind of out of context for the music video, where I was thinking about the concepts of our collective legacy as, you know, human beings on the natural world, and how that is basically trash. Um, so we took two very famous paintings, being The Wanderer Above the Sea of Fog by Caspar David Friedrich, and the the cherubs from Raphael. And we, in The Wanderer Above the Sea of Fog, we replaced the rock that the man in the painting is standing on by a big pile of trash. And in the cherub scene we made, well, we didn't, our lovely art director did, wings out of trash and out of waste. So we, yeah, we really wanted to put like a social commentary of on our shared legacy on nature, and to maybe contemplate on that a little bit.
Yeah, it's because I believe you have like a degree in art history or something, so it's great that you know,
I
use.
still put it to use every now and
Yeah,
then.
exactly. It's great to see that. But yeah, also if you talk about your logo, it's like it feels like it's very much a nod to Art Nouveau or something like that. So it's great to see that pop up once in a while in your aesthetics
Nice,
and the
nice.
music videos and such.
Glad you appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah, talking a little bit about the upcoming tour. So, what can fans expect from that? Is it mostly going to be the songs from this album that you're planning to play, or are you also playing some older material?
Mostly songs from The Obsession, maybe some from the Tales records too. Yeah, that's what we've been doing for the last festivals. Of course, on the festivals, we don't have the album out yet, so we also didn't want to give away everything yet. But yeah, I'm most excited of bringing like The Obsession to the stage and to the people.
Yeah. Are you excited about, having this extensive touring part again in your life?
Yeah, very excited. Also a little bit nervous. As you might see, I have a treadmill. It's put up now. I have a treadmill behind me because I am totally out of the routine, you know.
Yeah.
I haven't been doing a full month of touring in 5 years. So I really have to get back into shape. I have to get my voice back into shape. So I'm doing this thing now where I'm singing the set on the treadmill to train, because like I said, I get nervous. Like I'm a very nervous human being, and my heart rate gets very high and my breath get kind of high as well, which is not what you need for singing. So I'm trying to emulate that by singing on the treadmill and getting very tired and then trying to sing, and that's my training. So I'm trying to prepare as well as I can. I am very excited about being on the road again, especially with with the band. We've got such a long history, and it's so wonderful to be, yeah, to be able to do this again. And yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah. Well, I think when we first started talking, that many years ago, I think I wouldn't maybe have seen you touring ever again. I guess you had to process some things as well. But how, like, if you look back to the whole process, how do you sort of look back to your whole solo career?
Yeah, I think the very first part of it was quite responsive. Like I had to respond to the band split, I had to respond to the pandemic like we all did, you know. Unfortunately, I'm in no way unique in that. Um, uh, we all had to adjust. Um, and I'm trying to make very intentional choices now. I feel fortunate for the way that I've kind of been able to bridge this time, learn so much, be supported by a community. Um, that's still like the also like the Patreon. It's also funded. You know, the Obsession. Even now that I'm with Napalm Records for a full deal again, they're super supportive. I have an amazing team. But the record itself, like I was already like funding that um, through them. So I just feel very fortunate that I've been able to go through a band split, through a pandemic, and remain a full-time musician. And now to be on the road again. Let's see. Ask me again in December, like how I feel about being on the road again. No, I'm really looking forward to it. There will definitely be moments that are tough. Like I'm not used to the headbanging anymore. Like my
Oh
entire
yeah.
back and my neck are crushed after just a few rounds of headbanging on Saturday. So I definitely have to get back into certain things. But I like to think it's like riding a bike, but we'll see.
I'm sure it's gonna be great. Well, I at least I hope to see you on the Finland stop. Yeah,
Yes,
apart
that would
from
be
that,
wonderful.
you also have Tuska Festival coming up in this next year summer. But do you have any other festival plans so far, or is that still too much ahead in the future?
No Leyendas, Dynamo Open Air, Tuska, um, Castle Rock. Oh, it's so beautiful.
Yeah,
But
it's
yeah.
very distracting for me as well.
Yeah. He's so cute. And then I do think we have one more. Am I forgetting one? Am I forgetting one? Let me see. But yeah, we've got quite a few festivals, and we kind of want to do, like, I would love to do like at least like a festival in European, every European country. Like that would be really cool. But we'll see if we can make it happen. Like I'm manifesting it.
Yeah.
Even kijken. Tivoli, we've got the Camelot, then we've got the VOLA tour, Dynamo, Tuska, Leyendas del Rock, Rock Castle. Yeah, those are the announced ones so far. We've
Yeah.
got a few more that we're working
Yeah.
on. So
Well,
yeah,
yeah, I guess it's gonna be great as well because you get to bump into some people you maybe haven't seen in 5 years. So, um,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah. But anyway, I think that's pretty much it for my questions. Do you have any last thoughts you want to share with your fans?
Oh no, I just want to thank everyone for like taking the time to check out this interview. I hope that they really like the obsession. I hope that they enjoy like the work that I put into it, but also like the work that the team put into it, because everyone did such an amazing job, and I'm so proud of it. And yeah, just thank them a lot. And yeah, I mean, the Patreon is still very important. So if people are curious to check it out, like a fun thing is now, if people enjoy the album, they can go back and listen to like the first versions of the
Mhm.
songs. So, and in the meantime, I'm still making a song every month. So there's always new things to explore.